Okay, welcome back, everybody, and thank you for joining the City of Kingston's Heritage Area Commission and Historic Landmark Preservation Commission for a joint monthly meeting of each respective commission. Today is Thursday, July 1st, 2013. I am Suzanne Cahill, the Planning Director. We ask for your continued patience as we have had to reorganize this meeting with less than a week notice. We are now back at the table and meeting in person. We still have some guidelines to go through to help us in our transition to what will ultimately be hybrid meetings in the next month or two. We ask that anyone who is not vaccinated please wear a mask for the length of the meeting. I also ask everyone in the room to please mute your cell phones. Bathrooms are out the door to my right, women's to the right, men's to the left. If a commissioner or staff wishes to speak, they will raise their hand. The chairperson for the commission will recognize them by stating their name clearly for our audio listeners and transcript recording. I ask that all commission members leave their microphone off unless you are speaking to avoid feedback and allow for better sound capture. All of our meetings are continuing to be recorded. Both video and written transcriptions will be made available to the public on the city website at a later date. Also note this meeting is being live streamed on the city's YouTube channel. In lieu of public speaking during the monthly meeting, we had requested all comments to be received by 2 p.m. on Tuesday, June 29th, 2021. Comments will have to be emailed to jedelson-safford@kingston-ny.gov or skhill@kingston-ny.gov, hand-delivered or placed in regular mail or in the drop box at City Hall. Two late comments were actually received, reviewed, and circulated to the commissions and the applicant. Only one has been posted because the one was a very late communication received just before the meeting. All meeting materials, applications, and supporting documentation, written comments may be found on the city website by going to www.kingston-ny.gov, and on the home page, scroll down to the bottom under Meetings where you see the joint meeting posted. Click the link for the agenda, and you will find a universal hyperlink for all information. Again, we are doing our best at this time to provide the best means of public access under short notice so that sound is captured for the record. If you do have an audio issue, send a text message to the following number, 845-443-0416. I will repeat the number again, but be aware that phone calls will not be answered during the meeting, and we are doing our best at this time. The number to text again is 845-443-0416. The commissions may move to pause the meeting to eject anyone who behaves inappropriately or to enter into an attorney-client conference if needed. On behalf of the commissions, I wish to thank everyone for your patience over the last several months of virtual meetings, and we look forward to maintaining the open level of meeting dialogues to the best of our ability. I now call to the meeting to order at 6:37 p.m., and I turn the floor over to Chairman Hayes Clement for the HAC. Hayes, you need to turn your microphone on.
Thank you, Sue. I'm Hayes Clement. I'm the chairman of the Heritage Area Commission for the City of Kingston. I'd like to introduce the other members present. Michael Del Priore to my left, Bonnie Howland, our vice chairman, to my immediate left, Dean Barnes to my right, Kevin McAvoy to the far right. First order of business tonight is the adoption of the minutes of our June 3rd, 2021 meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes? Motion by Bonnie. Do I hear a second? Second by Dean Barnes. Motion on the floor. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mark Grunblad. I chair Historic Landmark Preservation Commission, and I'll introduce the members of our commission. To my right, Robert Tonner. To my left, Andrea Putz. Across the table, Kevin McAvoy and Hayes Clement. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of our June 3rd meeting. Moved by Andrea Putz, seconded by Robert Tonner. Any discussion? Seeing none, I don't call the roll. All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Next order of business is an application from the owners of 79 Hudson Street to replace front steps to code, replace damaged concrete front walkway and step, and increase the size of concrete walkway to accommodate new steps and orientation. Arlene Puentes, applicant. Henry Nussbaum, owner. Are any of the applicants here? If you'd come up and talk to us, thank you. Thank you. If you could introduce yourself.
Arlene Puentes, I'm the Housing Rehabilitation Specialist, City of Kingston.
Gotcha. Arlene, can you just walk us through what you want to do here? Everyone's got the application?
I'd like to refer you to the scope of work, reference number 1118. I'd like to demolish the wood steps to the front porch and the front concrete steps to the street. The front porch is in bad shape. It has been repaired and it won't last too much longer. The contractor is going to design a new front concrete walk and a single step to the street. Is that enough?
Yes. Has everyone had a chance to review the application on the Heritage Area Commission? Anybody have any questions of the applicant? Any discussion, any issues? Do I hear a motion to declare this a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act? So moved by Dean Barnes. Do I hear a second? Second by Bonnie Howland. Any discussion of that motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Second, on the matter at hand, do I hear a motion to approve the replacement of front steps and replacement of damaged concrete front walkway at 79 Hudson Street as presented? Motion by Michael Del Priore. Do I hear a second? Second by Kevin McAvoy. That motion's on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. The ayes have it. Thank you, Arlene. Next item of business is 59 St. James Street, a proposal to replace badly leaking roof with Timberline GAF in charcoal. Serge Avakian, applicant and owner. Is the applicant here? Could you join us? If you could, Serge, if you could just introduce yourself and walk us through what you want to do.
So I'm Serge Avakian, and my partner, co-owner Andy Ovanessian is here as well. We purchased the property last year, and we just needed to do this emergency upgrade just because the tenants upstairs had significant leaks coming into through their ceilings that I had sent video to Donna Brady and a number of pictures to Donna Brady as well.
Can you please speak closer into the mic?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
And the people that did the roofing, he said that the roof itself was very old, but he said it wasn't even meant for a house. It was meant for commercial garages.
Any questions of the applicant? Any issue with the color shingle proposed? Do I hear a motion to declare this a Type 2 action under seeker? So moved by Bonnie Howland, second by Dean Barnes. That motion's on the floor. Hearing no debate, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Second, do I hear a motion to approve the proposed replacement of the badly leaking roof at 59 St. James Street with Timberline GAF in charcoal? So moved by Dean Barnes. Do I hear a second? Second by Michael Del Priore. Any debate? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. Next order of business is 109 Wall Street, a proposal to replace a roof with either Tamco Heritage shingles, GAF modified bituminous rubber on flat portions, in-kind repairs, and a replacement to corbel table. Jerome Nathan, applicant and owner. Jerome, is the applicant here? Can you come up? Thanks. And if you could just introduce yourself.
My name is Steve Sagazy. I take care of the estate, let's call it.
Everyone had a chance to review this?
Can you, when you use the mic, just speak closer into it?
Okay.
Thank you.
Better than the Zoom meeting.
Amen.
Hold on, I just want to pull it up. Everyone has had a chance to look at this. Looks like the roof is definitely in need of replacement.
For many years.
Anyone have a question about the color?
Well, we just have that and or here, so I was curious about that.
Is that just based on what's going to be available?
Yes, exactly.
But they're both pretty similar?
Yes.
Color-wise?
Just an off shade.
Both dark green. Okay. Any questions of the applicant? Do I hear a motion to declare this a Type 2 action under seeker? Michael Del Priore. Do I hear a second? Bonnie Howland. Motion on the floor. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Do I hear a motion to approve the roof replacement with either Tamco Heritage shingles or GAF modified bituminous rubber on flat portions as proposed for 109 Wall Street? So moved by Dean Barnes. Do I hear a second? Second by Kevin McAvoy. Any further debate? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. Now we're moving to joint HAC, HLPC applications. Do you want to start those, Mark?
All right. First up is 275.
Mark, please use your mic. Right there.
Thank you. 275 Fair Street.
Computers, so I'll give you that. Does anybody else need one? Right, it's fine. It's about time. Computer, right? Well, here you go. I got one extra one for you guys to share there.
All right.
Hi, everyone. Tyson McCaslin from Timely Science, representing Hamilton and Adams. We're looking to propose to, first off, paint the soffit the same Van Dusen blue as the same client has on the other two fronts that are adjacent to this storefront. Looking to put two matching half-inch PVC routed letter sets on the two facades as shown, as well as some very minimal vinyl lettering on the windows.
All right. Does any member of Historic Landmarks have any questions for the applicant? Has everyone had a chance to look it over? All right. I will entertain a motion to declare this a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Thank you, Hayes. Do I have a second? Thank you, Robert. Sorry, Andrew. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Okay. Is there any discussion on the application itself? All right, then I move that the commissioners present find as fact that the proposed signage at 275 Fair Street in the Stockade Historic District by applicant Timely Signs of Kingston and owner Opera House LLC, if done according to the plans reviewed at this meeting and according to the procedures stipulated in Section 405-64 of Kingston's Administrative Code, is compatible with the historic character of the building and the district for the following reasons. That the proposed sign will involve two single-sided stud-mounted letter sets, both 120 inches wide by 10 1/4 inches tall by half-inch thick PVC, CVC routed logo primed and painted white, soffit to be painted Benjamin Moore Van Dusen blue, HC 156. That this work will cause a material change to the external appearance of the property, that said signage will not detract from the character of the historic district or the building, that any changes or additions to the plans under work specifically described and outlined in the submitted application will be subject to further review by our commission prior to additional work being carried out, and that this commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the City of Kingston's Building Safety Division or any other required approvals from relevant coordinating agencies. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that on the first day of July 2021, our Commission grant a preservation notice of action to the above-referenced applicant for the work as described herein and in its application to our Commission, such notice to be subject to the conditions contained above. Do I have a second? Andrea. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And all right, that's everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Same here. I'm going to hang out because I have the next one as well.
You're up on 303 Clinton?
Hold on. So for the Heritage Area Commission,
Thanks.
with the Heritage Area Commission, our role in this one is advisory, right, Sue? And HLPC is approving. We always have the right with the HAC to defer to the HLPC on these matters where we're advisory and refrain from offering an opinion if you're happy with how this went. Do I hear a motion to refrain from issuing an advisory opinion here?
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second? Motion on the floor. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you.
All right. Do you need... Okay.
I'm just waiting for the next one here.
All right.
Okay.
If you would describe it for the record, please.
Sure. For the new property, I don't know if you had to announce what the next was on the agenda.
Yes, it's 303
Been here enough.
Clinton Avenue.
Okay, I'm Tyson McCaslin from Timely Signs once again, and our client is looking to have a small hanging sign attached from the overhang of their porch. This is not in a public right-of-way or anywhere that anybody actually walks at all, just so everybody's aware. And this is meant to be able to have changeable panels showing the four lawyers that are there currently, and if anybody changes out, the tenant panel would change. It's a PVC hanging sign with stainless steel hardware.
Are there any questions from HLPC members? All right. Hearing none, I move that the commissioners find as fact that the proposed signs for 303 Clinton Avenue in the Stockade Historic District by applicant Timely Signs of Kingston and owner Hudson Valley Injury Law Center, if done according to the plans reviewed at this meeting and according to the procedures stipulated in Section 405-64 of the City of Kingston's Administrative Code, is compatible with the historic character of the building and the district for the following reasons. That the proposed sign will involve one single-sided hanging sign, 53 inches high by 30 inches wide and 3/4 inch thick white PVC with a chamfered edge, painted white, lettering V-carved and painted black, and four 35.5-inch wide, 4-inch high, and 1/4 inch thick PVC removable panels, painted black, hanging hardware to be painted white, that this work will cause a material change to the external appearance of the property, that said signage will not detract from the character of the historic district or the building, that any changes or additions to the plans and or work specifically described and outlined in the submitted application will be subject to further review by our commission prior to additional work being carried out, that this commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the City of Kingston's Building Safety Division or any other required approvals from relevant coordinating agencies. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that on this first day of July 2021, our commission grant a preservation notice of action to the above referenced applicant for the work as described herein, and in its application to our commission, such notice to be subject to conditions contained in the foregoing motion. Do I have a second? Kevin, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do members of the Heritage Area Commission have any questions for Tyson on the proposal for 303 Clinton Avenue?
Whoa. Just a moment, Tyson. Did we do a seeker?
I did not hear that.
No, I did not. Thank you. Before you leave the table, I will entertain a motion to declare our preceding motion a Type 2 action under seek.
So moved.
Thank you, Hayes. A second? Thank you, Andrea. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do any members of the Heritage Area Commission have questions for the applicant about 303 Clinton Avenue? Do I hear a motion to defer to the HLPC and to refrain from issuing an advisory opinion in this matter? So moved by Bonnie. Do I hear a second? Second by Dean. That motion's on the floor. Any debate? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Tyson.
Thank you, everyone.
Do you want to take the open one here? All right. 323 Wall Street. Good evening. Please state your name for the record.
Sure. I'm Victoria Polidoro. I'm a partner at Rodenhouse & Shaw Polidoro. I'm here tonight with Corbin Plays from William Gottlieb and Umair Nassim from William Gottlieb. The last time we were here before you, we were seeking approval of a fence and a bluestone restoration of the sidewalk. That project is ongoing, but we're happy to be here tonight to talk about signage. So as you may know, 323 Wall Street was formerly BSP Music Venue. They did not renew their lease, and a new entity called Wall Street Music Hall took over the space in January. Wall Street Music Hall has spent a significant amount of money restoring the interior of the property, and we're here tonight to talk about signage for this new facility. So this is sort of a two-part request, which we understand is somewhat unique. The first request is for installation of a historic marquee and overhanging sign on the front facade of the building, and that is the Wall Street facade. Corbin's going to walk you through the details, but the sign is going to be based on the historic signs for Keeney's and Reed Theater that were historically at the property. We have some photos there, and he can point them out. Right. So we know that there's a Pike Plan canopy along Wall Street now, and they do serve their purpose, but they end up eliminating a lot of the vitality of the streetscape. It's very homogeneous. You can't see the store windows. There's no differentiation between a lot of the buildings, and so the purpose of this new historic sign would be to alert people that a theater event space exists and also to bring vitality and excitement back to the streetscape. I don't know if you've gone to Portchester or even Poughkeepsie. When you see a historic theater and you see the marquee, someone driving by goes, oh, look, there's an event space, there's a theater. And right now there's no visual cue on Wall Street. I've been to BSP and I had trouble finding it amongst all of the storefronts when it was in operation. So that's the first part of the request. And we know that this is a big sign and it's going to be important. So we're not necessarily looking for approval tonight. We're here to get your comments. I mean, if you want to approve, that's great. But we're hoping to have a dialogue about the sign, what you like, what you don't like, and really come up with something that everyone supports. So that's the first request. The second request involves the temporary signs that are there now. Those signs were put up for an event that was held on May 11th. This was sort of their We're Here grand opening event, and they also were raising funds for some local organizations. We know that there was some controversy over these temporary signs. Temporary signs in the city of Kingston don't require a permit. There's tons of them throughout uptown Kingston, but there are apparently some issues about the size of these temporary signs. So that's an ongoing discussion with the Zoning Board of Appeals. It's not part of the discussion with this board tonight because if you do grant approval, the signs would become legal if we can get variances from the Zoning Board. So I just wanted to address that comment. I know the public has raised it in their public comments. So the front facade on 323 Wall Street, we're proposing to leave that sign there now until such time as the historic marquee sign is built. We believe that it'll take at least 6 to 12 months from ordering to actually fabricate that sign. And again, Corbin's going to go through the details. And the owner of the facility wants to have a way to identify the premises in the meantime. I also will add that the facade of this building, it doesn't hurt to cover it up. It's not that attractive. The second portion of the second request is the existing sign that's now on the Crown Street side of the building. We acknowledge that this sign is large and it does grab your attention, but it's on the same wall as a very large mural by O Positive and a historic furniture sign. And so a sign that is smaller would look out of place. It would be dwarfed by those existing artistic murals. And, the character of Crown Street is different than the character of Wall Street. And we think that that large sign is supportable. In any event, cars don't see it because it's a one-way road down Crown Street. So really it's visible to people in the parking lot, pedestrians looking down from the corner. It's just a way to grab attention for people on the corner. We think that the character on that side of the street is more eclectic with all the murals, and this fits that character. So after Corbin goes through the sign details, I would just like to go through the landmark preservation standards one by one and address each of them. So I'm now going to turn it over to Corbin. Thank you.
Corbin, you're going to need to use a mic, please. And Victoria, please turn yours off so that there's no feedback. Thank you.
Nice to see you guys in person, finally, after all these Zoom calls. This is the starting point for where we found the marquee. We have some historic postcards, and then we have some historic photographs. So we haven't started with much. But we have also seen some evidence of the original sign that are still on the building, including the steel frame that holds the original marquee, and you can still see on the roof the footings for this original structure that was holding up the sign. We're proposing to kind of match the style of the original Keeney sign. It's more historic than the Reed Theater sign. And then we would replace the letters with the new Wall Street Music Hall name. The sign itself would be made of sheet metal with a steel frame on the inside, painted with direct-to-metal paint. We're proposing to use neon lights to outline the letters. We would place all of the transformers and electrical components inside of the sign, as was typically done. let's see, I have a picture of, we have a couple of ideas here. The first being the placement of the sign. Currently, the Pike Plan canopy is in the way of putting the sign exactly where it was before, so we raised it up. That's one option. The other option is if we lowered the sign and we replaced a portion, we would remove a portion of this canopy so that you could have the original sign in its location. Some of the thoughts that are also coming up that we haven't totally worked out yet is that we would like to restore the facade of the building back to its original brick. Currently, it was clad with wood at some point, and that's becoming deteriorated. So that might go along with this whole plan. These are some slides showing, this goes along with both signs, but this was just this shows other signs in the neighborhood, in the area, large signs. We've outlined these, and we can email you guys all of these slides. Some of these weren't included in our original submission. This is a picture of the, which Victoria mentioned, the side of 323 Wall Street and the sign and how it's dwarfed by the large murals on the sign, on the building, and the painted ghost sign. And then this is the last board that shows the dimensions and the locations of the vinyl signs.
You need to turn your mic on, please.
Thank you. This is the new you're on mute, right? Okay, so landmark preservation, in order to grant approval, you have to find that certain standards are met. And so the first one is the effect of the proposed work in changing, destroying, or affecting the exterior features of the landmark or in the landmark district. So in this case, we have a facade that has already been significantly altered by either leaving up the current red and white sign or putting up this new marquee sign. It's really not impacting any historic features of that building, and we argue it would add to the building itself. We think that it'll be a benefit to the landmark district by reestablishing original design elements that contributed to its significance and its growth early on, which is, the historic theater sign. Second, the relationship between the results of such work and the exterior architectural features of other neighboring improvements. Again, we're not proposing any exterior alterations to this building. The wood paneling and facade will remain, and nothing will be permanently altered by the sign. Signs can always be taken down and put up. And so Corbin did mention that it's not proposed at this time, but it is something that they are exploring, and so we may be back with another application to do the facade.
Just a note for commission members: if you're going to ask a question, please state your name and turn your mic on and then off. Thank you.
Okay, number 3, the factors of aesthetic, historical, architectural values and significance, architectural style, design, arrangement, texture, material, color. So again, these signs are not going to impact the existing facade of that building. It's not going to obscure any significant architectural features, and if and when the signs are ever removed, the features will remain unaltered. So in that case, again, it leads towards approval by the commission. Special character and aesthetic interest that any structure involved adds to the area. Wall Street is a commercial district. There's lots of hanging signs as you walk up and down the street. We think that these signs, while loud, are consistent with the character of the district. And it adds some vibrancy to the streetscape. It draws your attention and identifies that there is a new tenant there and that there is a use. On the side of the building, the wall sign complements the aesthetic of the area, which already contains the painted sign and those large murals. And again, the overhanging sign and marquee, we think, will help recreate some of the historic character. The last criteria that you have to consider is the difficulty or impossibility of reproducing any structure involved because of its design, texture, material, position, or detail. So again, the signs are not going to change any existing features of the building, so there's no need to reproduce anything. And the applicant is, looking for your input on this overhanging sign and marquee sign so that, it meets the standards of the commission. So happy to answer any questions you guys may have and take your comments.
Thank you. My first question is the era that you are aiming for with this marquee sign. What general age or architectural era are you trying to take us to?
So this would be approximately about the 1920s.
1920s. Okay. My concern here is that on the historic district, we have, when the historic district was declared, a sort of age range that we were pushing toward. Now, that was broadened in some instances, not in others. I think 1920s is kind of on the new side for the stockade, so I'm not sure it will fit the historic designation. So I would ask you to double check that in the and give some thought to what era you're looking to recreate. We know here that this was a vaudeville house before it was a furniture store, before it was a concert venue. But we need to kind of pick and focus in on what era you're trying to recreate and make sure that it will blend easily with what's going to be happening on the rest of the street. And you're right to be concerned about the Pike Plan. It has its own specific rules, its own specific requirements. From my point of view, going above it probably makes more sense than trying to drop into it. I think you'll wind up obscuring chunks of a sign if you attempt to do that. Any other questions, comments?
My question / comment is sort of similar along that vein. Now that the Pike Plan is in place, not a feature back in the 1920s, if you do the marquee sign at a higher level to sort of clear the Pike Plan, I guess it's one that's not really being seen by pedestrian traffic. I guess it'll be visible to drivers uptown or people on the other side of the street. How does that height requirement with the marquee sign going way above the pediment of the building, how does that abide with code up there?
I don't know off the top of my head. We'd have to look into that. But I mean, the height restriction on buildings is based on the steeple of the Old Dutch Church.
So that it would be fine from that standpoint.
I would presume yes, but
Okay.
I can't definitively say yes or no.
We did apply for a variance for the height.
Okay.
So that if the commission approves it, one of the steps we'd have to go to is the zoning board.
And I guess if you illuminated a marquee sign, how does that jibe with existing sign code up there? Is that another thing that's going to have to get a variance? Or?
Well, you can have illuminated signs. Obviously, the issue of the flashing might
Right.
become a question for zoning. Flashing or signs that continuously rotate statements or messages.
So the sign that's proposed would not have like the lights going around in a circle, Las Vegas style or anything. It would be a constant emission of
The
light.
letters would be illuminated.
And it would be neon, not LED illuminated?
At this point, we're thinking of neon, but we're still exploring the technology, which is going to work out best. And we'll have that with our fabricators when we go through the kind of design process.
But we'll take your input if you have a opinion.
Well, what
Neon is
happens
what's
probably
proposed.
many times, Sue, is the LED lights become so bright.
Right.
And of course, there's usually less long-term trouble. They're cheaper and such. But
Michael, can I just ask you to speak more into your mic, please? Thank
usually
you.
I'm loud anyway. No, I mean, I like the idea of adding vibrancy up there. If we're just giving suggestions, I personally don't like the marquee above the Pike plan. I think that looks, I don't want to say silly, but it doesn't look right.
That was going to be my question. I don't either, but I like this, and I didn't know if you looked into the overhanging sign without this in some way to kind of incorporate it into the Pike plan that exists, because I think this is good. This looks forced. It looks kind of out of place.
Yeah, we do have a version in our original application. I think it looks like this. I'll show you.
And I mean, I don't mind the marquee being in the front, but the addition of having the marquee completely break the Pike plan and on the sides seems to be, I don't know that would work, because obviously this, and I don't know what kind of precedent it would set, Sue, for down the road, because obviously this is the most important building on the block. Once this goes up, most important business and the most important, obviously, but it's also what you said, it's very deceiving. It's a huge venue that has a very tiny door entrance. It's like when you go into that, it's like, wow, I never knew this was here. But I don't know if it warrants this, but I like the concept of adding something different up there, as long as it maintains, some historic semblance to what's already been approved for the others that are there already, because it could start a stampede of people who suddenly want to put all of if they own the building, there'd be a whole line of vertical signage above the Pike plan.
Very true.
I like it. I mean, I like the concept of it.
Those are good suggestions, and we'll take them into consideration. We did have a version where we placed just this piece on top or on the front of the Pike plan. This part of the sign.
Vertical.
Yeah, we would still continue to have this, and then this piece was resting on the top of the Pike plan or in the front. Yeah, it would look a lot like that page.
Yeah, it's about it's kind of for you, Sue. The Pike Plan Commission, it used to be uptown, and they turned it over to the city.
Yeah, the Pike Plan Commission deferred the reviews of all the signage to the Landmarks Preservation Commission.
Oh, so I can't get away from the Pike Plan no matter what I do. Just kidding. Yeah, so, but there's a separate list of rules for the Pike Plan, from what I remember.
There is a design standard for signage underneath and along the street for the Pike Plan structure itself, yes. And the proposed sign is not consistent with that design standard. They're both hanging signs, both perpendicular and underneath the canopy over the sidewalk.
Oh, yeah. So that brings up a couple of things. If you were to interfere with the Pike Plan, that it does set all kinds of new things, and it would, I think, it would open up all. Yeah, I'm sure you've thought of that.
I mean, we were thinking that the Pike Plan is to encourage people to walk even on rainy days, and so by extending the marquee out, it would still meet that goal. But we understand that it could cause other issues because it's a continuous building. We just wanted to raise the issue with you guys to see if you had any input or recommendation.
Something maybe to consider is just the scale. Even if it was maybe 50% smaller or something, you could still get some of the effect and have not as intense a structure. You might be able to kind of kill multiple birds with one stone in a way.
Also, with the structure, for this initial sketch, we just superimposed the original photograph. So we may be, with a structural engineer, we probably would be able to get a lower profile on the structure itself. It wouldn't have to maybe go so tall and be so large. Maybe we could like integrate it a little bit more.
Right. So if the commission is supportive of this concept of a vertical sign, we can look into reducing it a little bit.
Could I ask what the font, the name of the font that you're using?
I can provide that for you. It starts with an A, but it's like it was a very kind of obscure font. It is actually one that comes on Photoshop, but I'll provide that to you.
And I presume by that design, that's you're moving towards more of a vintage branding and logo rather than the modern, is in this temporary signage.
Yes, for the marquee and the vertical sign, we would go with something that would go along with the time period.
Of the original vaudeville use.
Okay.
I mean, I know that we were talking about going back to Stockade, but the theater didn't exist during the Stockade period.
No, but I just was questioning two different logos between the temporary and the, you know.
Right, I know. You wouldn't be able to see the front logo and the rear Crown Street sign at the same time because the buildings completely block the view. So they would be, different signs on different streetscapes.
Okay, yeah, I just thought it's unusual to have two different brands.
I think the whole idea of it could be very interesting, and it gives some, gives some variation to the facades. I guess I'm with Bonnie. I think of the two renditions, I like the second one better, where the marquee portion is incorporated as part of the Pike plan versus being somehow above it. That looks a little divorced for me. And possibly too high, going above the parapet.
Maybe this was said already, and forgive me, a lot of data coming at us. Is the intention to keep the rear signage even once you've gotten the newer signage up out front?
That is the intention, yes.
Is that rear sign going to be fabricated differently than what's shown there now, what's existing?
The proposal is to leave what's existing.
I struggle with that because I agree. If it's two different styles, and right now it just doesn't fit, I guess. Even though there are murals that are next to it of different styles and sizes, I remember the first time I drove by it and saw that, I was like, whoa, it just seemed very out of place. I understand you're trying to draw attention, and you're definitely drawing attention, but it doesn't. It seems very out of place, even with the furniture sign, whether it's the font or the color or both. Or the sheer size of the whole thing, especially if you're saying no one's going to see it driving by, it's only foot traffic, that there's a way that you could make something more aesthetically pleasing, possibly. I don't know. It just seems like extreme overkill.
I mean, there is the possibility of taking away the vinyl and making it a painted sign in that style, which would then age.
You're sold on the style and the font and everything of that?
That is Wall Street Music Hall's modern branding.
Okay.
That's their branding. So the client does want to put that on the building.
Is this within, are there any limitations to what they're allowed to do on this is the side of your building, correct?
It is the side of the building, yes. And it does need a variance because the sign is limited by the length. And it's a very long building, but it does need a variance.
50 feet long, it looks like.
Right.
48.
But is that, what's
The
there
square
now?
footage, it's the length of the building times 2 is your square footage for your sign, your cumulative signage. So the question that would be raised and would have to be answered by the zoning enforcement officer also is whether or not the mural constitutes signage. If that's the case, then a variance is absolutely going to be required for that Crown Street side.
But our consideration of the Crown Street side right now is in the context of that being temporary signage, right? Which is sort of a separate...
No, permanent.
So temporary signs in your code are limited to 30 days. So we would like permission to keep this sign up longer. So we have to come to you for permanent sign approval.
Just for clarification, in the zoning code, the temporary signage is not for identifying a building. It's for an event or something of that nature that's more temporary. This identifies the building, so it doesn't really meet the specific criteria to be defined temporary.
Of course, we're arguing that, but hopefully, if we can get approvals at some point, we won't need to argue that. The issue is that it doesn't say grand opening Wall Street Music Hall. It just says Wall Street Music Hall. But they were put up for the special event.
All right, but
Victoria,
we are to assume that this sign is what will be there indefinitely.
Correct. That is the sign that the client would like to keep up on the Crown Street side of the building, regardless of what happens with the marquee in the front.
And the two on the front would go temporary to permanent in the event that the marquee wasn't done.
Correct.
Right. The commissions are reviewing this, though, as if all of these signs are permanent in nature. Okay, you're not looking at them as temporary. Okay, the ideal situation is that the front Crown Street will transition. I believe you said 1 year to fabricate.
We said, at least 6 to 12 months. It's going to be, if everyone agrees to neon, it will be a hand fabricated neon sign. So it does take some time to make.
And you're confirming with a structural engineer that the building can support whatever proposed?
Yes, we would. Yeah, we would. We would, in conjunction with the fabrication, we would have this engineered by a structural engineer. So everything would be checked and confirmed beforehand and certified.
Would you anticipate being back next month with a more firm application on the marquee signage?
Yes, we could do that.
Okay.
We'll take these comments back to the client and give you some more information.
Yeah, we'll further develop it.
On the rear side, is there any possibility of modifying the color or the font? Are you open to that at all?
We can ask.
Okay.
The font is their. I think they have it on some of their merchandise, but I'll raise the question.
Victoria, I guess, would you be open to allowing the commissions to table this and have you come back at the August meeting with the more definitive marquee and possibly a revision to the rear Crown Street sign?
Definitely open to it being tabled for a month while we go and get the structural engineer and more details on the front marquee, and I will bring back the comments on the rear sign.
Okay.
Yes. What would be the new submission deadline?
We'll look that up.
Okay. They're looking for us to get like actual specifications. Okay, thank you.
Okay. I was just told, I guess the Zoning Board of Appeals will be making a decision later this month at their regular meeting. So you're looking for approval of the temporary signs tonight.
Yes, I mean, can we still go to the zoning board without, I mean, does it have to be in that order? Right. Yes, we'll take, I mean, if you want to approve them tonight, that's great.
I'd have to defer to Dan.
Oh, my question was, can we, if they're not ready to make a decision tonight, can we still go to the zoning board and work on the variances, or does it have to be in a particular order?
Well, that doesn't extend your stay if the ZBA denies your appeal on the 23rd.
Are you giving us a hint? No, never mind. Okay, so yes, we ask that the board vote on the signs, and we will return as soon as possible with the marquee signs, with more information on the marquee sign.
Right. So we are dealing with a decision tonight. You've heard our commentary on the marquee possibility, but we've got 3 signs to look at in their present location and present condition. All right. In clicking through our criteria, this is specific to members of Historic Landmark Preservation Commission. Are there specific questions you've got based on our criteria?
Well, I guess, Mike, I have a question about the process. So are we being asked tonight to extend temporary status to those signs?
I don't believe that's within our power.
You can approve what currently is a temporary sign as a permanent sign, in which case, the issue of its temporary nature is moot. Okay, or, you can deny it, in which case the stay remains in effect until the ZBA makes the decision, which presumably they're going to do on the 23rd. And then there's like a 2 or 3 week gap.
The question before us is, is making these 3 temporary signs permanent, up or down?
Yes.
Are these in whole, or can any part of this be in part?
We would ask that you consider them separately.
Of the 3 signs separately?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, is everyone clear what we are focused on? There are 3 signs, one above the Pike Plan, one on the Pike Plan canopy, one in the rear of the building facing Crown Street.
Hold on 1 second. You had previously asked about the HAC deferring to the HLPC with regard to this issue. I don't believe there was an official, like, motion about that one. You would typically do.
We were doing them on the other instances. If HLPC approved, then we do.
Hayes, please turn your mic on.
Prior, if HLPC went first on approval, then the HAC was taking a vote on whether to refrain from an advisory opinion.
Everyone is participating in deliberations with regard to the request that's on the table, and then you're going to consider whether HAC is going to defer its advisory opinion to HLPC.
Correct.
Just to clarify.
All right, so that leaves us on the HLPC wrestling with our approval or disapproval of 3 signs. Now, has everyone had a chance to review and take a look at them on the building, in there? It's rare that we have the chance to actually walk by and see it.
At your service.
And so what are your reactions? What is your, are there open questions you want answered
There's one
on
open
those
question
3 signs?
I have one open question, and it pertains to the marquee. When they come back with the marquee, doesn't that effectively make the front signs moot at that point? Those are going to come down at that point, am I correct?
They would have to include in that submission their plans to remove.
Even though we're calling it permanent, it isn't really permanent. It's permanent until the marquee is.
We have to presume the marquee may or may is. If the marquee does not go forward, these are the signs Kingston will live with for as long as the approval lasts. That makes sense to you? Okay. All right. Do we want to deal with these as a group, or do we want to deal with each and individually? Do I have a sense from members of how they want to approach this?
I think we could probably, I'm fine with doing them one at a time.
Okay. All right, then if everyone else is okay with that, I think we should focus on the front first. It's the more traveled way. We have the long, thin sign, 14 feet long by, I'm not sure exactly how tall. On the face of the Pike Plan canopy. Do you have it on? All right, on the handout, those of us looking at the handout, it's listed as sign number 2.
It's 4'6" tall by 13 foot wide, or the one right on the front of the Pike
No, that's
Plan.
sign 3, where it's a foot tall. Thank you. It didn't show up on here. Oh, it's misplaced. Yeah, so that's where so it's 14 by 1 on the Pike Plan itself. Any? Yes, Robert? On with your mic, please.
Sorry. That is hanging on the Pike Plan, correct?
It's not hanging. It's actually been affixed to.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Now, I think that is against the Pike Plan rules, especially to make that permanent. Do you know that, Sue?
Yeah, I mean, it does not conform with the existing Pike Plan design. So that's a good question because it's city property. If it would, how that deviation would be addressed. I don't know that it would be addressed by the ZBA, but it deviates from the approved design scheme. So I would suggest if it's going to be permanent that it be affixed according to that design standard.
which would mean it would have to hang from the pike plan.
Correct, and there are dimensions for that.
Yeah, not to be, I know that's, the pike plan has a lot of rules and it's all.
I know,
you
we thought that we didn't, because we're not under it. But yes, I
Right,
understand.
Yeah.
That's sign number 2. Sign number 3 is the squarer sign, 13 feet long by 4 feet 5 inches high, that is sitting above the pike plan. Canopy on the building on the front facade. Do folks have questions or comments on that?
Well, I have issues with both of those on criteria 1, 2, and 3. And I think, as Sue has noted, they're not the design standard in any way. The current one.
As far as I know, there's no prohibition on wall signs in Stockade District. It's just that if you're on the canopy, there's particular standards.
You want to go into any detail on which way you believe it fails to meet any of those criteria?
In everything we've approved or considered, it's, signage underneath the pike plan canopy, hanging, certain dimensions, things like that. I don't recall any exterior signs on buildings above the pike plan roof. I mean, am I wrong?
I'd have to look. I
There
don't
were
recall
a couple
any.
that predated the pike plan. They have been since removed with changes of ownership. I mean, in my time on HLPC earlier on, there was, I believe, a law office sign, and the old London sign was above, but when
He's
that
correct.
changed hands, it got taken down.
I mean, I wasn't involved with the HLPC, but there was a London sign that sat on the building facade above the pike structure proper, and that could have predated the pike.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it predated.
Right.
I also read that the pike is not historic in and of itself. It was built in the 70s. And so, historically, there would have been wall signs on many of these facades.
Yeah, the one that it has to deal with is exterior architectural features of other neighboring improvements. And in that case, the city did make a decision and has, even after the 70s, reaffirmed its decision to have that horizontal canopy be a tying feature of that section of the Stockade District. So we've been working around that for a long time.
Right, but we're not covering, the wall sign doesn't cover it or change the features of, apart from the pike plan sign. The wall sign at the front of 323 does not cover or impact the pike.
What's your thought?
Well, I mean, I've stated it. I think it's inconsistent with the first 3 criteria, and I think it's inconsistent with how we've dealt with other signage requests up there.
All right. Any further discussion on sign number 3, facing Wall Street? All right, let's shift to the big sign in back, the sign number 1. Do folks have questions or comments related to the criteria for that sign?
I think mostly, despite the fact that it is it's a very large sign, and there are artistic. There's a mural to the left of it, and then there's historic old advertising signs to the right of it. It does not meet the other historic criteria within the district.
Do you want to point to something specifically?
many of the other businesses in the district have all met the required criteria for their commercial signage, and this one is not the right size standard.
All right, so aesthetically, you feel it's just overwhelming?
Yes.
Excuse me, I'm not sure who you are, and if you would need to.
I would love to have my comment that was public comment read. Is that an option? There's 2 comments on these signs.
I've received one, and I'm not sure who you are or what your point is, but they get to give their own description without interruption. Please be. I thank you for your comment. I do appreciate it, but that's the way we have to set this up.
I mean, I will just add that I know that this is a very modern sign, but when you have a historic district, the purpose of the district in many senses is to maintain compatibility and not change historic facades. If we have to make all the signs back to 1850 or 1720, it starts to feel very Disneyana, right? It creates like a fake time period that doesn't actually exist, whereas a mixture of the historic facades and a modern sign, it does create more energy and vitality. But again, I know it's your job to decide what's right for the city.
And just my issue, any issue or question I have about the Crown Street sign is not about the aesthetics. Mm-hmm. The painting next to it is rather modern. So I totally accept your point on that. It's dimension and consistency, and what the design standards are and what the code is in terms of dimensions.
If the rear sign was painted on, instead of the vinyl material, would that change anything? It would flake a little bit.
I don't know that if it's painted versus if it's a vinyl sign or if it's a standing sign or whatever the material is, if it's still a very large sign of this scale, it doesn't meet. I don't know how else to put it.
I want to ask a question. So how much smaller would the... Oh, sorry. Oh, no, I did it. How much smaller would the sign need to be? Is it hugely oversized? It's that 2 times formula.
Based on our calculation,
I don't have that.
the property is about 149 feet long, so you can double it for square feet. So about 300 square feet would be permitted, and this is about 565.
Oh, so it would be substantially smaller.
It would, and it's our opinion that something very small, just given those large murals, if the murals are to stay, which I think the community wants them to stay,
right.
it sort of gets lost on the wall.
Not to get into...
It is my opinion.
Whoa. Yes, and they're entitled to... It's their floor at the moment, and... Yes, and you've had a chance... Sir, I'm guessing that... Thank you. All right, I'm afraid you're going to have to sit with further frustration as we continue to discuss. Thank you. Yes, Mike.
The one thing I think is a problem when you say aesthetically is not only the size, it's the bright white. It's that, I think even if it's a little smaller, against that old building, that white pops. It almost looks like it's illuminated. I remember when I went by the first time, I thought it was like a tractor trailer was parked against the building. And but again, I understand it's your if it's the logo and everything that it's the white. But I think part of the problem is that bright white, that it just it almost appears illuminated, and then it's the danger red, so it's like warning, stop sign.
It is an attention drawing sign, and
It works.
everyone in the area knows that Wall Street Music Hall is there.
Well, to that end, if you do have it at about 300 square feet, or what the ultimate calculation winds up being, I think you're still going to see it at that dimension and size. I don't think making it bigger at red and white is going to
So,
draw more attention versus
would the
less.
commission support it at the size that doesn't need a variance?
Personally, I would. If it meets the criteria, then
Sue, do you have a
Hang on.
calculation of what you think the square footage could be?
Hang on, I'm just looking at something. What if these commissions tabled and scheduled a public hearing for the 15th of this month, 2 weeks from today? That would be ahead of the ZBA meeting, to allow the public to weigh in at a hearing and also give them an opportunity to maybe look at some potential redesign aspects.
Well, I was going to suggest that after you all finish your conversation for this evening, so that you can air whatever other issues you all have, and then potentially schedule the public hearing. But now that Sue has, articulated that out loud, it sort of changes the strategy. That you continue the discussion amongst yourself this evening, to take it as far as you can, so that the applicant has your thoughts about it. That's been fully aired, and then when you come back on the 15th, you can pick up the conversation.
I have another meeting scheduled already for the 15th.
There goes that suggestion.
But I mean, if this board wants to have a public hearing, we would like the board to vote. If what we're hearing, if you want us to go back and come back with something different, then I would request that we hold off on the public hearing until we have at least addressed some of this board's concerns and comments with a new set of plans.
Well, I would ask the question again. Does the planning department have a calculation of what the square footage of this
I
should-
do not.
Okay. That would be really helpful. I mean, if the appropriate square footage is being discussed, that's a different conversation.
The question is whether it's a cumulative square footage. So the question is whether or not the mural is considered part of that calculation.
Of the three signs.
Which probably already exceeds.
I mean, with all due respect, I don't think we can count a mural as a sign because
it's not my opinion to make, but I'm putting it out there that it's possible.
All right, in which case you would be back in front of the ZBA for a variance.
Well, the variance would change if we had to count those huge murals. There wouldn't be any room left for a sign, so.
It would be on that one face. All right, in any event.
How big, assuming that the mural and the butcher sign is not counted in the calculation, how big, does the code permit the single sign to be?
According to my calculations, which Eric Kitchen has not necessarily confirmed, it's 298.24 square feet would be allowed.
It would be 2 times the length of that wall.
Well, so I think we counted the whole side of the building, so.
So it wouldn't be, you wouldn't take the building all the way to the front. It would be the wall that's in the rear, and I don't have a survey.
Okay, so, right, we have a survey we can share.
Okay. I think we have questions about the size. We have some about the color. Are there other construction sorts of issues? How is it anchored?
They've been affixed to the wall with screws.
They're anchor bolts.
Anchor bolts into the brick, into the mortar.
There's a frame of 2x4, first 2x4, and then that anchored to that screw that's ground all over the line.
So grommets into the brick.
Yeah, anchor bolts into the brick through.
Got it. Okay. That always worries me a little, but I guess it's a very light sign, so these are not gigundous anchor bolts. Do you? 3/8 of an inch. Okay. Sure. All right. Yeah, I have the same problem with O positive all the time, making sure that whatever material they're putting on is not actually going to damage a building. And it doesn't appear that a lag bolt of that size would be much
They
of a
get approval
concern.
from this board for the murals?
Do they? We have tried for a very long time to ensure that they come here, and we have given them a few things that are, in our minds, off limits. And also, we have given them lists of materials that will not harm. Some of our brick is particularly soft, given its age and manufacture, so we have to be cognizant of that, and I personally have reminded O positive of that every 3 to 4 years for the past 15. So I do what I can.
But just to confirm, you said when it comes to the color, when we're discussing the color specifically, this is their logo.
Correct.
So it's that red and that white with this font represents Wall Street. Like, just to be clear about that, this is their logo. It's red and white with this font.
Branding,
Boom.
yes.
Got it. Just to be clear about that too. So you wouldn't go back and change anything really about the color and the font because it's their logo. Otherwise, you're asking them to rebrand when it comes to this. Okay. I mean, I still have an issue with just the sheer size of it, but again, if it fits within the constraint and the size that is allowable, and it's still red and white and it's their font, I think it's a little bit more acceptable than something that you already know is oversized and unnecessary and seen by pedestrian and on foot. I don't know that it needs to be so large. The color and the font and everything speaks for itself to its true size. But again, that's your fight to have. But I don't know that it needs to be so astronomically large. It could be what it needs to be in the color and the font. And my struggle is with the stuff on the front. Like, if this was the right size, then.
All right. So, Hayes, shall I go ahead with a vote on the 3 signs as presented?
I think you would ask for a motion and a second on approving the 3 signs as permanent.
I'm intending to make that motion and then take it to an up and down vote, unless anyone from HAC has additional comments that you'd like to make just for their. All right. I think we have discussed various points. We have to take this as a sort of single up or down vote as presented. That's our only choice, as it has been given to us. We have given you individual comments on each sign. I'm going to make a motion of approval, and then I'm going to seek aye or nay. All right? Just so everyone understands how I've structured this.
First would be a seeker vote, and then
Correct.
2. Okay.
Thank you for the reminder. I'll entertain a motion to declare this a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
So moved.
Thank you, Hayes. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Andrea. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Moving on, No, this is not a public hearing. I'm really sorry. We're not set up for one. All right. I'm going to move that the commissioners find as fact that the proposed signage for 323 Wall Street in the Stockade Historic District by applicant Wall Street Music Hall and owner 323 Wall Street Owners LLC, if done according to the plans reviewed at this meeting and according to the procedures stipulated in Section 403-64 of the City of Kingston's Administrative Code, is compatible with the historic character of the building and the district for the following reasons: that the proposed signage will involve 3 separate panels which have already been temporarily hung, along with the existing canopy in front, 1 wall mounted on the second story of the front facade, and 1 wall mounted on the south-facing side of the building, all-weather vinyl with red letters on white background on the southern brick wall using masonry anchors, PT wood 2x4 shims, 3/8 galvanized lag bolts with lag shields through metal grommets, 1 on the eastern face of the sidewalk canopy and 1 on the eastern facade, anchored to wood facing with coated truss screws and washers through the metal grommets. Also seeking approval for I'm deleting that. We are separating the section of the marquee, so I'm not going to include that in our motion tonight. All right.
I need to speak to you before you make the motion.
All right. That this work will cause a material change to the external appearance of the property, that said signage would not detract from the character of the historic district or building, and that any changes or additions to the plans or work specifically described and outlined in the submitted application will be subject to further review by our commission prior to the work being carried out. And if I could ask for a pause.
Yes, just join me for a minute.
To return to the proposal that this Commission's approval would not obviate the need for a building permit from the City of Kingston's Building Safety Division or any other required approvals from relevant coordinating agencies. Based on the preceding findings of fact, this resolution would propose that today, the first day of July 2021, the Commission grant a preservation notice of action to the above referenced applicant for the work as described herein and in its application to the Commission. Such notice to be subject to the conditions contained in the foregoing motion. Now, is there anyone who will formally move the approval? No. All right. Then I am going to recast the motion in the negative. I would move that the Commission present find as fact that the proposed signage for 323 Wall Street in the Stockade Historic District by applicant Wall Street Music Hall LLC and owner 323 Wall Street Owners LLC, if done according to the plans reviewed at this meeting and according to the procedures stipulated in Section 405-64 of the City of Kingston's Administrative Code is not compatible with the historic character of the building and the district for the following reasons: that the proposed signage will involve 3 separate panels that have already been temporarily hung, one along the existing canopy in front, one wall-mounted in the second story of front facade, and one wall-mounted on the south-facing side of the building, made of all-weather vinyl with red letters on a white background, on southern brick wall using masonry anchors, one on the eastern face of the sidewalk canopy and one on the eastern facade, anchored to wood facing with coated truss screws and washers through the metal grommets. That this work would cause a material change to the external appearance of the property, that said signage will detract from the character of the historic district or the building, that any changes or additions to the plans or work specifically described and outlined in the submitted application would be subject to further review by our commission prior to that work being carried out, that this commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the City of Kingston's Building Safety Division or any other required approvals from relevant coordinating agencies. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that on this first day, July 2021, that this commission not grant a preservation notice of action to the above referenced applicant for the work as described herein and in its application to the commission. I have so moved. Is there a second? Thank you, Andrea. All those in favor of denying a preservation notice of action to the signs as permitted indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? That motion carries. Thank you. No, and thank you for your time.
Do HAC members have any other questions for the applicant or comments?
I would still like to get your feedback for the next meeting on the marquee, and if you were to resubmit the existing signage, to again request that the owners take a look at possibly changing the font or the color. Oh, I just asked a question about the font and the color and asked if when they come back, if they could take it back to the owner to see if they would consider changing the font and the color if they want to resubmit. Yeah.
Yes, they can resubmit
Yeah,
a revised
that was my question, was
proposal.
to ask about
Absolutely.
the possibility of changing the font and the color if they were to resubmit. Is that Mike clear? Okay.
Any other additional comments or questions from the HAC?
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to refrain from issuing an advisory opinion on that, on this matter, 323 Wall Street signage? So moved by Dean Barnes. Do I hear a second? Second by Bonnie Howland. That motion's on the floor. I'll call for the vote. If there's no other discussion, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? So the HAC will refrain from issuing an advisory opinion on the 323 Wall Street signage proposal for now.
And thank you.
I have a couple of, just questions for the board going forward, and a question for Victoria. Do you anticipate that the revised application will be in time for next month's meeting?
So, we were hoping not to have to revise the application as far as the temporary signs.
See how long it would take if you had to revise it.
So we'll talk to the client tomorrow morning. When would the next meeting be? Is that a standard meeting on July 15th, not a special meeting? Oh.
No, that would have been a special meeting.
Okay, so the next meeting would be the first Thursday in August.
August 5th.
And then the question is, if it's going to be back for August 5th, does this board want to schedule it as a public hearing on August 5th so that we don't have to address that at that point and potentially move it over? You always have the discretion to hold a public hearing I think, procedurally, it would be best to make that determination now.
So, I mean, I would ask the board at this point, if you want, you can go ahead and do that, but we have to go back and talk to the clients. And so if they're not going to be ready, I can send an email and we can cancel.
Well, if you submitted an application for the next meeting, then we would automatically call for a public hearing versus just a regular.
If this board,
If we,
does that now. Just
Right.
so you know going forward.
We've been taking commentary online due to the pandemic, so this is actually reverting back to in-person procedures for those of you who have grown used to doing everything online. I personally would welcome a public hearing. Yeah. All right, then.
okay, so if and when they submit the next application, we'll automatically schedule it as a public hearing for the signage.
Okay, thank you kindly.
Okay?
Good evening. 8 North Front Street. Welcome back.
Hello, everyone.
Nice. Thank you. Hello.
Tyson McCaslin from Timely Signs.
Judy Tellerman, owner of 8 North Front Street.
We're proposing removing the signage. Does everybody have the packet? Sorry, I don't have any extra to give out tonight, but I'm happy to share. So we're proposing removal of the existing signs that are on the building, shown on page 1, and replacing them, as shown on page 2, for Senate Garage, Cowork Kingston, Dragon 360, and Rhino Records, in conjunction with a muted painting on the wall of the logo, as shown on page 2 and page 3, that goes with the character of the building. It's supposed to look weathered, as if it's been there for a very long time. Not bright or obnoxious in any way. And then moving on, we currently have a sign already on the building for the Senate Garage. The hanging sign is shown there. That was approved many years ago. They want to add Cowork Kingston and Rhino Records with the same type of LED light, a similar type of bracket, but due to the existing round sign, they had to have a special bracket made. So these are just regular square arm brackets that you've probably seen a lot around Kingston. The following pages does show the signs, the existing Senate Garage sign, as well as the other 2 signs they're proposing to go on the rest of that facade. And just to confirm, on page 1, the existing Rhino Records sign would be removed at that point. Judy is aware that she has to have the City of Kingston as additionally insured, as these hanging signs do go over the sidewalk if she doesn't already have the insurance.
All right.
I believe we sent copies of these, but would you like me to
Oh,
send
yeah.
this
Does
around?
anybody want to?
Yeah,
Does anybody need
I'll
a copy?
take one.
I'm aware of what's going on.
All right. Did you want to chime in on this, or should we go first? All right. Members of Historic Landmark Preservation Commission, do you have any comments, questions? Yes.
I think it looks great. Really looks super.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
I like it a lot.
That was quick. Any other comments?
Tyson, I just didn't hear correctly. Are the older signs coming out completely?
Yes,
Oh,
all the
there it
signs
is.
that are
Okay,
shown
I
on
see
page
it.
1 would be removed. Yep.
Question is answered. I see it. Okay.
Yep, no worries.
Except for the round Senate Garage sign on North Front Street.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. I will entertain a motion to declare this a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
So moved.
Thank you, Hayes. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Robert. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. And I'm introducing a motion that the commissioners present find as fact that the proposed signage for 8 North Front Street in the Stockade Historic District by applicant and owner Don Tallerman, if done according to the plans reviewed at this meeting and according to the procedures stipulated in Section 405-64 of the City of Kingston's Administrative Code, is compatible with the historic character of the building and the district for the following reasons. That the proposed sign will involve 3-inch deep fabricated panels in dark gray accent colors on consistent dark backgrounds, SG logo, the Senate Garage logo painted direct to brick, and 3 overhanging signs with custom brackets in black and rub billet uplit light fixtures. That this work will cause a material change to the external appearance of the property, that said signage will not detract from the character of the historic district or the building, that any changes or additions to the plans and work specifically described and outlined in the submitted application will be subject to further review by our commission prior to the work being carried out, that this commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the City of Kingston's Building Safety Division or any other required approvals from relevant coordinating agencies. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that on the first day of July 2021, this commission grant a preservation notice of action to the above referenced applicant for the work as described herein and in its application to the commission, such notice to be subject to the conditions contained in the foregoing motion. Do I have a second?
Mark, can you add in that the insurance be provided, naming the city as additionally insured?
All right, I will accept that amendment, and I'm inserting that in the second to last paragraph, which will now read, this commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the City of Kingston's Building Safety Division or for adding the City of Kingston as an additional insured as required by overhanging sign regulations in the city and any other required approvals from relevant coordinating agencies. So amended. Do I hear a second? Second. Thank you, Robert. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you.
Thank you very much. He's just going to say something.
Does the HAC members have any other questions of the applicants? Do I hear a motion to declare this a type 2 action under seeker? So moved by Dean Barnes, second by Michael Del Priore. I'll call for the vote on that. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Second, do I hear a motion to approve the new signage for 8 North Front Street as proposed this evening? So moved by Dean Barnes, second by Michael Del Priore. That motion's on the floor. Any debate? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed?
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
There should be a decision document floating around from Heritage, item number 7. Yep. Is that sign? Okay. Thank you.
Next up, 61 German Street. If you'd introduce yourselves, and I'm going to recuse myself. Yuri is a longtime client of mine, and so I'll be asking you to take over as vice chair. Okay.
Mark, your reason for recusal again?
Yuri is a longtime client of my law practice.
Okay.
So we still have
You're out. We got 1. We got 2. We don't have a quorum.
Without Peter, we're quorumless.
What's that?
Yeah.
No,
You.
Kevin and Peter. What's that? I'm sorry, me, Kevin, and Robert. Oh, okay. So yeah. So, but then, just as everyone understands, it's got to be unanimous because you still need a majority of the board. So you have a choice. You can go forward this evening with just the 3, and everyone's got to be in support or it gets turned down, or you can put it off to next month. Well, we'll have the same situation next month. We have the same situation next month because we don't have alternates on this board.
Well, unless Abigail and Peters shows up for HLPC, and Abigail shows up.
An alternate for HLPC.
No, Peter is on HLPC.
Peter's on HLPC.
But you don't have a quorum if you...
And Abigail would have to show up for HAC.
Right.
Yeah, so we got 1, we got 2, so, I mean, you can go forward with 3, but all 3 have to vote yes in order for it to pass. Or you can put it off to next month and then you have a 4th and, have, 1 vote to, play with. That's your choice. You understand what I'm saying?
Not at all.
Do you want to go ahead with, I'm recusing myself on this one.
And I have to recuse myself because you've been a client.
Which means we only have 3 members left. In order for the board to approve what you're asking for, you need 3 votes, so it would have to be unanimous. So you can
No.
go forward tonight.
No, you need 4.
What's that?
You need 4. It's a 7-member commission. It's a 7-member commission, but only 6 positions are filled. So you don't have a quorum.
You don't have a quorum, it's got to be
Correct.
Well, if they've applied and they go 30 days, 60 days without consideration because of a quorum problem, don't they get it automatically?
Yeah.
Both boards are advisory to this also, right? Because this is in the RT but not in the historic district?
Correct. Advisory to planning.
I'm not hearing, Kayla, I didn't hear what you said.
Both boards are advisory to planning board because you are not in the historic district, but you are in the RT district.
Right. Well, I'm not sure I understand the concerns. I do have one question. Does the city of Kingston not have a permit renewal process? Like we're applying all over again for a permit that was already granted? It was granted, it elapsed during the pandemic, and now we are renewing it, but there's no renewal process? It's just we start all over again at the beginning?
The permit was issued without the correct review process taking place before issuance of the permit, which is why you're going back through the process. It's considered a new application.
So the city made an error in letting us approve it, get it approved without...
In issuing the permit, technically, yes.
Well, I don't know what, maybe we should step out and talk to council and find out what we should do.
Well, there's nothing to do. You have to come back next month.
But if there's no quorum, next month
If there's no quorum, we can't act.
Okay.
But when would it?
I'm just trying to find that section. 90 days.
Yeah, that's right. 90 days. So we have
90 days what now?
The commission has 90 days from the date of application to render a determination. Take action.
And if we don't, it becomes an automatic
default.
Mm-hmm. Not a positive advisory, not a negative advisory, just
correct.
To prove, right? But that in an advisory capacity, that means it gets a positive advisory opinion. Right.
Yeah, there's no objection.
Okay.
Kind of a strange. Well, that is a sweet thing to hear. Thank
I know,
you.
not everyone finds this enjoyable. Lifelong preservationist. I found it all very interesting.
Why, thank you.
So we can
Mark,
Yep.
is that a decision document? I'm missing one from Landmarks. I'm going to
tab
pass
here.
another.
Dear Hayes. 37 Adams Street.
Okay. Yeah,
Hi.
just sign it.
Hi,
I'm guessing you're Patricia O'Neill?
I am Patricia O'Neill.
Thank you for your patience. And if you describe what you have in mind.
I have a dilapidated shed that's on my property. I guess years ago there used to be a big barn garage that was asphalted out for that. They replaced it with this shed. I'd like to replace it with the garage again.
Right. Since this one also includes the coastal zone, do you want to... Okay. We're going to let the HAC go first on this one.
No, just sign.
Did everyone on the HAC get this, look through this application? Are there any questions for the applicant? Any issues to discuss with her? Everyone's okay with this? Do I hear a motion to declare this a type 2 action under seeker? So moved. So moved by Bonnie Howland, second by Dean. That motion's on the floor. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Second, do I hear a motion to approve the replacement of an existing shed with a garage at same site at 37 Adams Street as proposed? So moved by Bonnie Howland. Do I hear a second? Second by Michael Del Priore. That motion's on the floor. Any further debate? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you.
That's it. Great.
Nope, hang
Thank
on,
you so
hang
much.
on. First half done, second half yet to go. All right, for anyone on Historic Landmark Preservation Commission, any questions for our applicant? Robert.
Yeah, I couldn't pull it up, so do you have it?
Mike.
He's asking for
Sorry,
a
I couldn't pull it up, so
Can
is-
someone, does someone have that?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there a new design for the garage, the new garage?
Yeah, I submitted that.
Oh, that's in
the garage
there.
I want to do down here, and that's the shed I want to get rid of.
All right, I apologize. I looked
Yep,
at it this
that's fine.
afternoon and I couldn't.
If you make it bigger, you can see it's rotting, the shed.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
So, and this is the,
The garage I want to put up, yep.
you want to put up? Mhm.
Through Brad's Barns.
Yeah. Know them well.
You had a chance? All righty. Coming back to you now. All right, does anyone else have any questions for the applicant? All right, then I'm moving that the commissioner present find as fact that the installation of a proposed garage to replace an existing shed at 37 Adams Street in the Rondout Historic District by applicant and owner Patricia O'Neill, if done according to plans reviewed at this meeting and according to the procedures stipulated in Section 405-64 of the City of Kingston's Administrative Code, is compatible with the historic character of the building and the district for the following reasons. That the proposed shed will involve the replacement of the proposed project will involve the replacement of an existing shed with a garage at the same site, 12 feet wide by 24 feet long, A-frame structure as pictured from Brad's Barns, that this work will cause a material change to the external appearance of the property, that said structure will not detract from the character of the historic district or of the building, that any changes or additions to the plans and work specifically described and outlined in the submitted application will be subject to further review by our commission prior to the work being carried out, that this commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the City of Kingston's Building Safety Division or any other required approvals from relevant coordinating agencies. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that on the first day of July 2021, this commission grant a preservation notice of action to the above referenced applicant for the work as described herein and in her application to the commission, such notice to be subject to the conditions contained above. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm going to ask for a motion that our proceeding action be declared a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I hear a second? Yes. Thank you, Andrea. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes, and moving right along to 132.
We're done. Great. All right, now we're done.
132 Lindsley Ave.
I'm going to be recusing myself on this one for the reason I've recused myself from prior discussions of this is I have an existing or prior client relationship in this matter.
Evening.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. If you would give us an overview of the project.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Zachary Hall. I'm representing KDA. And our project here is the Edgewood Mansion, located at 132 Lindsley Ave. Do you guys have any plans in front of you at all? Doesn't look that way. Here, I can... Sorry, I've gone paperless over the pandemic. Okay, yeah. So there's you see that the main thing is the site plan. We're basically keeping the existing lovely residential feel and turning this single family, what was a single family mansion with 12 bedrooms or 11 bedrooms into a 12-key hotel. And then the other part here is an old carriage house that we are looking to restore into a residence, and with a existing guest house that would be remodeled. The proposal includes a little bespoke cart path that travels along the dead end of Lindsley Ave and has a little privacy fence that runs along the east to west line between the carriage house and the Edgewood Mansion. And other than that, we are proposing minor modifications to the drive, including a little spur that will connect to the carriage house and a ADA ramp to meet accessibility compliance. Another piece of this is a small screened-in porch here at the L of the carriage house and the guest house. And so with both of these additions, I imagine that's what you guys would be most interested in. I'm just going to pull up the ramp. So here on the top, you have what's existing. During the years of ownership, this porch had been filled in. I believe in the 90s they did an infill on the porch, so they did an okay job. Then later on, they did a real, weekend warrior kind of job here at the front, and so that's just like it's a screen door with some netting. It's not great. So what we're proposing is to correct that by matching what was done in the 90s, which we felt was reasonably cohesive with the rest of it. So now the whole porch will look cohesive. So that's part of this design. But also to add this ADA ramp, which you can barely see in the drawings, because I feel like we've really nestled it into this L of the mansion that is not very prominent when you come up on it. Also, there's plenty of landscaping in that, what I'm calling an L, and I'll show you that shape. I'll zoom in here. Oops. I've never done this quite like this before. This is this is challenging my brain. Hold on. There you go. So this area right here receives landscaping. So as the guests walk in and get received into where we're proposing reception, they will hardly, see this ramp. So that's that one. And then this screen porch here in the back, we felt was the least. We needed a little outdoor space, and previous owners had tried to incorporate something here on the side, but it's really close to a drop-off, as you can see by these tight topo lines. So we liked it here in the back where nobody can ever perceive that it was built, so it keeps historical significance. I mean, there's no angle to see this thing unless you walk around, because this is like, a drop-off, a ravine, and then there's no real access back here either. This is Central Hudson easement. So this little addition would then be in the style, we still want to make it look nice, so we're proposing it in the same Second Empire style. Here, I'll show you the existing. Right now, it's just an outhouse. And, here's the new, which is just be a screened-in porch with all of the Second Empire / Italianate coolness that's happening on this mansion. So we're adding a little, corbels at the top, the Second Empire column style, and some really complimentary screening. So, and again, that's kind of it's going to be a very private little area, anyways. But so I think that's kind of the overview, and I'll answer any questions you guys have.
Just wanted to point something out. I did the National Historic Register nomination for Courts Mansion, and one thing
you Kevin
one thing you
wrote
have
the Wikipedia article.
In the future,
I think on
going
this
forward is in the lawn in front of the carriage house going towards Lindsley. There may be archaeology there. It doesn't affect what you're doing here, but if there is something in the future on that lawn area, you'd want to check that out. And that may refer back to the same archaeology that's underneath the recently installed parking facility on Lindsley.
Okay.
But it was a different anthropologist that picked up on this. It was Chris Lindner from Bard. The other one was Joe Diamond.
So I'm clear, Kevin.
I can show you.
Yeah, could you?
This general vicinity.
Gotcha.
So what happened was I was there with him at an event, and I was talking to him, and we're outside of the carriage house. The party was in the carriage house, and we were outside, and he started picking up shirts in the lawn. So there was no formal study done, but it's known.
Thank you, Kevin.
Any other questions or comments? All right. I'm trying to remember who's. Yes, you are our vice chair. Okay, if you want to go ahead.
Give me some guidance, Sue. Happens once in a
Well,
blue
for heritage, you have to do the coastal consistency review, so I just have handed out to you the coastal form that was completed by the applicants and the consistency review form that goes through all of the policies that are in the LWRP, and it was done in draft at staff level. I know I had sent it out and circulated it in an effort to be more speedy in the review. So if there are any questions, if you've reviewed it and you have any questions, we can address those. Or if you've reviewed it and you agree with it, you perhaps can consider adopting it in its entirety and concurring with it the way it is written.
So is that the best way to go about it? I've reviewed it thoroughly.
Otherwise, you would have to go policy by policy by policy, but I think this one is pretty cut and dry.
Has everyone had a chance to review it? Yes?
If everybody's read it through, okay, and all the statements you would agree with. Okay.
So then in order to get it approved, do I have to do a type 2 or?
Yes. Yes, you would do it as a type 2 action first. Or no, this one is unlisted, so you do have to make a neg deck.
I'm sorry, I have to make?
You have to, it's an unlisted action.
Okay.
Okay, so you would have to, someone would have to make a motion to render a determination of negative significance.
Okay, does someone want to make said motion?
I make a motion that this is not a type 2 seeker action.
All right, second? Second by Michael. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Okay.
Okay. I do this so seldomly. I apologize.
And
Wingman Sue over there. Yeah.
if everyone is in agreement, has read through the consistency review form and agree to it in its entirety as written, then someone can make a motion to accept that draft as accepted as final, and that you would concur that the project is consistent with the LWRP per that form.
I'll make a motion to accept the draft in its entirety.
All right.
I'll second that motion.
Second by Kevin. Any other comments, questions? Call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope.
Do they need to do any further deliberation on anything?
No, they do not.
We're great. Okay, on to Historic Landmark Preservation Commission. Does anyone on HLPC have any questions for our applicant?
No question, but it looks really good.
All right, then I will entertain a motion to declare our decision a type 2 action under
No.
the state environmental policy.
No, it's unlisted.
I'm unlisted? Me? No. Stunned and amazed. All right. Then I get to make a negative declaration?
Make a
All
motion.
right, I am going to combine motions here and declare move that this be declared an unlisted action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and furthermore, I propose a negative declaration of environmental significance. Any questions on the motion? All right. Do I have a second? Thank you, Andrea. All those in favor? Aye. All right. We have one recusal. Moving along, any questions on the presentation itself, and are any details that you would like clarification on? Hearing none, I will move that the commissioners present find as fact that the adaptive reuse of an existing mansion and carriage house at 132 Lindsley Avenue, an individually listed local, state, and national landmark by applicant Christina Dosham Architecture PLLC and owner 132 Lindsley Avenue LLC in care of Carl Sloven, if done according to the plans reviewed at this meeting and according to the procedures stipulated in section 405-64 of the City of Kingston's Administrative Code, is compatible with the historic character of the building for the following reasons. That the proposed project is to take place at the Courts Mansion, also known as Edgewood Terrace, a 3-story Second Empire mansion constructed in 1873 for John H. Courts, a brick merchant, manufacturer, and co-founder of the firm Courts & Hutton. That the proposed project will involve general site improvements, adaptive reuse of the existing mansion for hotel use, including installation of an ADA-compliant ramp on the south side of the building, and the adaptive reuse of the existing carriage house as a 2-dwelling residence. that this work will cause a material change to the external appearance of the property, that said structure will not detract from the character of the historic district or the building. We are not in a historic district, if I am correct.
It's a designated historic site, though.
Correct. So I want to delete district or from the historic character of the building, that any changes or additions to the plans specifically described and outlined in the submitted application will be subject to further review by our commission prior to an additional work being carried out, that this commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the City of Kingston's Building Safety Division or any other required approvals from relevant coordinating agencies. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that on the first day of July 2021, this commission grant a preservation notice of action to the above referenced applicants for the work as described herein and in their application to the commission, such notice to be subject to the conditions contained in the foregoing motion. Do I have a second? Thank you, Robert. All those in favor? Aye. I note one recusal. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your patience.
Oh, of course. I also enjoyed waiting.
Oh, my, this is so sweet. We never get that on Zoom. Wow. What a shock.
No, it's not. I just looked.
All right. Endorsement for West Gallery building of the Hudson River Maritime Museum. All right. Are we moving along to that, or is there anything else?
Yeah, basically the Hudson River Maritime Museum has requested that each commission independently issue a letter endorsing their grant application. They're submitting to under the CFA grant program for the West Gallery building for the purpose, for further, I guess, not improving museum space, and there is also a display.
All right. Well, in general, the west building here is the new wood shop. Am I following this?
I believe so. I thought she had the letter. Let me see if I have it in the file. I thought she had attached it.
So this is the item that Greg Swansea reached out to us about, right?
Correct. Here, I will read it. I'll read the letter to you. As you know, not-for-profit organizations must provide a written approval endorsement of projects from the local heritage area management entity when applying for funding through the Consolidated Funding Application CFA process for heritage area grants through the Office of Parks, Rec, and Historic Preservation, OPRHP. They wrote one for historics, too. So the Hudson River Maritime Museum, HRMM, would like to propose a project in the upcoming round that will address concerns regarding the structural integrity of the HRMM's West Gallery building. Over many years, the building has continued to sink in certain areas near the Rondout Creek bulkhead due to the nature of the soils under the building and occasional flooding during storm events and effects of climate change. Our plan is to make improvements that will, A, stabilize the West Gallery structure using helical pilings along with associated interior improvements to ensure ongoing service and efficient operation. 2, improve access to the 1898 steam tug Matilda. And 3rd, greatly enhance the visitor experience with improvements to the HRMM West Gallery and gift shop and the 1898 steam tug Matilda. We would require a letter from you confirming your approval, endorsement of the project. Some draft language is attached in case that would be helpful. Please contact us if you need additional information. Thank you so much for your support. Best regards, Lisa Klein, Executive Director.
So on a real quick note.
Do you want me to read the draft language? Or do you want to just make a motion?
No, I'm curious, is this going to change the exterior of the building? I'm unclear that that's part of her plan. It sounds like it's structural improvements.
Yeah, I don't foresee any exterior changes. No, these are just...
This would probably go along with McLaren, like with the bulk work? Because it's sort
Yeah.
of in conjunction with it? I mean, separate project, of course. but
Right,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
yes,
Yeah, because that was discussed extensively, how they're syncing,
right.
yeah, during the McLaren process. Yeah.
So, just for a quick note, as I'm working for Dutton Architecture, they are also currently a client of ours. We're working on some other projects with them. So, and now we're not making a decision per se, but do I need to say anything?
I would say no. I mean,
Okay.
it's really just an endorsement. I mean, if the commissions each want to, I can draft the letter of endorsement, circulate it around to each respective commission, and then you can make any changes, and we'll send it off to them.
You made motions? Do you need-
Yeah.
Would anyone on the HAC like to make a motion that you authorize me to sign any letter of support for the Maritime Museum project as outlined by
Yeah.
Sue?
I'll make the motion.
Second? Motion by Kevin, second by Dean. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
All right. Similarly, for Historic Landmark Preservation Commission, would someone move that I sign a letter on behalf of the commission in support after it's drafted by Sue has been described? Rob, we've got a motion from Robert. Do I have a second? Second from Kevin. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. All right. Any other business before the commission? I will entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by Hayes. Do I have a second? Second by, ooh, boy, that was a tough call. I'm going to give it to Andrea. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I will entertain a motion for the Heritage Area Commission meeting to adjourn. So moved by Michael. Second by Dean. All in favor? Aye.
We stand